Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Mama Genius Festival / podcast. Today, we are going live all day long with some of our speakers who are going to now make a podcast interview so you get to see behind the scenes. My first guest today is going to be Catalina, and we are going to dive deep into sleep and the importance of it and what it's all about and why, as moms, we need it, why our kids need it, all of the above. So let me go ahead and get started with our intro, and then we'll bring Catalina on up as soon as I find it, of course. Welcome to Mama Genius Hub Podcast, where we support moms with big dreams from entrepreneurship to personal aspirations. I'm your host, Michelle Kaiser, and I'm here to help you unlock your potential in all areas of life. Join us as we explore strategies for thriving in motherhood while pursuing the dreams, the key to actually unlocking your genius. Subscribe now and embark on a journey to realize your fullest potential. And we are back. So we got Catalina. Natalina is a rest ambassador and spiritual seeker. Catalina is on a mission to get as many humans as possible on board cultivating a rested life. I need help to support physical healing, ignite creativity, and bring the joy of life into everything they do. She's an avid researcher of rest, sleep, and dreaming. I can't wait to have this conversation, and complements her research with certification as a yoga Nadira facilitator, trained in Daring to Rest method and 200 hours of yoga teacher training. She additionally adds to her workshops and program elements of embodied practices, healing energies, traditional Chinese medicines, and mindfulness approaches to her guide clients in the path of rest and rejuvenation. Oh my gosh, Catalina, we are going to learn so much from you. Welcome to the Mama Genius Festival / podcast today.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you very much. So we're excited to have participated as a speaker in this festival, and so happy to have the opportunity to be in your podcast today. Thank you.
Well, before you get started with your why, how are you feeling about the festival and how things are going for you?
Well, I'm really so amazed at all the organization because there are so many moving parts, and I guess people don't realize how many things you have to pay attention. You know, you're taking care of people viewing the festival, but you're also taking care of us, the speakers, so that we don't miss anything, so that we are on target, so that we know when to show up and deal with all the technology, all the questions that are being asked, like in the chat that we have. I see all the questions coming back and forth. It's a lot of attention and focus that you need to hold for for so many people and for such a long period of time. So I'm really amazed at how you're holding up. That is really impressive. Really impressive.
Well, I have to say, what's making me hold it up is you speakers. Like, I am just amazed by your messages and just want to bring that collectiveness. And I know some of I've seen along the way is just people being a little scared. I mean, as Catalina admitted to me today, this is her first podcast, and so that's my joy, is bringing that message out in all of you. So on that note, I want you to tell everyone, what is your why behind you talking about sleep and rest and all of this?
Yes. Well, it's when I was thinking about that, the question about the why, because what is behind doing all this, and the first word that came up to me was self-love. And I think that yes, we want to serve and we want to give from our gifts, but I think it all starts in ourselves, right? And what is the motivation? And there was a point in my life that I had to gather all the self-love I had available to myself to bring me back to health and to start looking at my life and the things that I was doing in my life that were making me more of a human doer rather than a human being. And I wanted to change that. And I guess that was the motivation, the fact that I wanted to change that. I didn't want my children to see me like that. I didn't want I didn't want to look back and see myself like the person who was always working and doing and never really being um, into the purpose, right? And being connected to my purpose and what I wanted to do. And it's been quite a challenge, a challenge. to bring in some balance in my life, to balance rest and activity, and to not just be able to, to listen about it or understand about it, but to incorporate it into my lifestyle and to really feel it in my body. And every day that I wake up and decide how my day is going to be able mm, to balance that rest and an activity and find time to be rather than just to be in the doing. Yeah.
I love that so much because it really is about the rest and in the doing. And I love how you put that because I can feel that right now, like being in the midst of creating this festival and stuff, just the doing of what we can do. And I think it was even Dia who did a talk last night about the masculine and the feminine energy. And
Mhm.
sometimes we're so into that masculine of the doing that we forget about our innate feminine energy as well. So I'd love for you to give us just I kind of want to just dive right into what are some ways for us to really start to incorporate that rest practically as moms into our busy schedule.
Yeah. When I did my talk the other day, I towards the end I said that we are as moms, we are like the sun and the moon to our children, that they gravitate around us like little stars. So it all has to start with us, right? And my children are older now, and as I look back as they when they were young, they're always watching us. And there are many sins that I wish they had not watched, but it's part of the process because they see me now too moving in another direction and trying to change certain things in my life, and they're still watching me, right? So they're always watching us, and I think all has to start in us, right? Because we model to them all the time, right? And we can tell them, oh, you have to take a nap or you have to go to bed early, and at the same time we are the ones staying past midnight doing whatever it is that we are doing, right? Not enjoying our meals or rushing through our meals or doing stuff like that. So whatever we're saying is not really useful unless we're modeling what we're saying. And that I guess that's the hardest part, right? And I think that awareness that we should have as moms, that our children are listening to us all the time and they're watching us all the time, and those are the things that really stick to them, not what we tell them to do, but the things that they see and they hear from us. And that has been a great realization. Kind of scary, right, to have that responsibility of being a model. And when I say being a model, I don't mean that we have to be perfect, but basically show us ourselves just as human beings who are just learning and looking for better ways to be human beings. And I think they can understand that it's not going to be perfect all the time, that we don't have to be perfect all the time and a perfect model all the time, but they can see really us as human beings setting boundaries for ourselves, for our family, uh, looking for opportunities to connect to them, and looking for opportunities to be ourselves as individuals, to be in fulfillment. And it's not a perfect trajectory, but I think our children can see the resilience and the humanness in a life like that is lived like that.
I would so agree, and we have some comments from the audience saying also, yeah, it's so sweet from Dorothy and Charlie. Coach Charlie is saying children are always watching. It is true because I think that's what this is. Mama Genius is all about as well.
Mhm. Yes.
Is when we live in our genius, it inspires them to see their own and live in their own as well. And we are those role models. But I love how you brought out. You don't have to do it perfectly. We are all human, but
Yes.
then showing like when it's time to apologize to them, showing them that we're learning in this process all and how we grow from it as well. That was so beautifully stated the way you said that. And so what are some ways we can incorporate that into our schedules, and like what are some of the because I know you talk a lot about rest and stuff, and what are some of the ideas you have that can help moms create more of that rest and leaving that idea of busyness behind?
Mhm. I mentioned in my talk something about time, about being in control of our time. because most of the time is the time, it's like time is controlling us, right? And we use a lot of the language that is like, there is not enough time, we're not going to make it, we're late again, you should be in bed by now, right? So that the kind of language is a language of time poverty, right? There is no enough time for anything. Whereas we can change that language into something that is more restful, like we'll be there, we'll be there soon, right? If you're running late, and I share a little mantra in my talk that time expands to meet my needs, and that's a mantra that has helped me a lot to just to revert and to reverse a little bit of that negative thinking that we have about time, right? That is never enough, it's never enough time. And I think our children listening to that, they grow up in that stress and anxiety of there's never enough time, which is not true, right? Because time is just a construct of our mind. We have created time to have some sense of control over our lives. But when time takes control of everything we do, then comes the problem, right? Because then we are slaves to the calendar, or slaves to our clock, or slaves to our phone telling us what to do and when to do it. And on any given day, looking at the calendar of the things that we have to do, where is a time that there is a time just to be, right? Whether it's a time when you are eating, or whether it's a time when you're taking a nap, or whether it's a time that maybe you're just sitting and just being, doing nothing, right? Like, I think one of the things that I used to do with my children when they were young, and at that time I was not a rest coach or anything of the like, but it can kind of intuitively was to have some time just to just to be, right, some quiet time, the quiet time that we used to call, and they were supposed to do whatever they wanted to do, however they wanted to do, and we knew that that was everybody's quiet time, and that we had to respect the boundaries, that everybody was having a little bit of quiet time, and that it was okay. It was okay not to have something that was organized or structured, and that you were just supposed to be even with a blank mind, and that was okay, right? That was okay, because productivity is so overrated these days. It's like if we are not moving or talking, it's like we're not doing anything, which is not true,
Exactly. Oh my
right?
God, yes.
Which is not true, because we have such a rich, prolific internal life, right? Where all dreams and creativity comes from. And that internal life is always on. We just not pay attention to it. We're not still enough or quiet enough to listen to that part of us that
Exactly.
is the source of our creativity and our inner life. And I think, as productivity being so overrated, we had to show proof that we did something, right? Always showing proof that we did something. And I think something that we can teach our children is that not necessarily, right? That you can be daydreaming for 20 minutes and that's okay, because you are in your inner self, in your internal life, which is so rich and so beautiful. So want to explore that more. And these days we talk so much about writer's block or lack of creativity, everybody trying to create the next new thing. But while we are focused on the outside, we are really neglecting the the amazing, amazing creativity that lies within, where all things come from. And that's also what got me interested in sleep. And sleep, as seen by many people, is a way to rest, right? It's one of the ways we rest. And there's a lot of people saying, well, sleep is not the only way to rest. You can rest in many other ways, and that is true. But to me, sleep has been, in the beginning, became it was the way to heal. Basically, for me, it was the way to heal, because I needed to sleep more, and I needed to heal from the hypothyroid condition I had. So that supported uh, a lot at the physical level. But then the more I was learning about sleep, then the more I realized that it was not only supporting my physical body, but it's also supporting my mental body. It gave me a lot of clarity and a lot of uh, spaciousness. It make me a bit spacey kind of thing. I don't know if you remember, anybody remembers when you have a good night's sleep and you wake up and you are like spacey. You're like there's like it's nothing is really coming to you, right? And some people get scared a little bit, like, oh my god, no thoughts coming. I'm blank. Something is wrong. But that state of being kind of spacey actually is a beautiful place to be,
Mm.
right? It's the actual devoid of thought space, right? And we are so sometimes such much in a hurry to get out of bed and get doing stuff, right? I was the one that was I will be, the alarm clock will run and I will just snooze it and then snooze it again and then snooze it again because I was not having enough sleep, so I was not ready to get up. I was not ready to
Yes.
get up, right?
And you
So
keep snoozing it and then it makes it worse. And then you're like,
yeah,
can't get
right.
up. Attention mompreneurs. Do you feel like you're constantly juggling the responsibilities without a moment to yourself? It's time to pause and reflect with our Mama Genius quiz. Tailored for busy mamas like you, this quiz will help you identify what's blocking your path and inspire you to harness your unique strengths, transform how you manage life and business, find your rhythm, and ignite your joy. Visit mamageniushub.com today to discover your Mama Genius. And that's mamageniushub.com.
Yes, and at that time, it had become part of my lifestyle. I didn't realize how bad that was. It just meant I was tired. I was never having enough sleep, right? And when I finally was really going into my deep sleep, it was time to get up. So my body was not getting enough rest during my sleep because my sleep was. It took me a long time to go to sleep, and then my sleep was shallow, was not deep. And then when I was finally drifting to a little more a deeper stage of my sleep, it was time to get up. Right? And when you wake up like that, still being tired, you cannot be productive. You cannot be your happy self. And definitely, you're not going to be the best mom or the best professional you want to be.
So do you have any tips on how to integrate more of this? So, I mean, some of the moms say, I can't sleep or I don't have time, or like, how do you alleviate some of that? Again, I know it's a lot of the wording because I love how you put that out there in the way that we say we're going to be late. We're always having this rushed and busy feeling, which is going to be one of our questions later. But how do we? What are some practical tips that you have for the moms to really like say, I'm going to do this?
Mhm. My children are not little anymore, so it's a bit different now for me. But I think that looking back, what really, in terms of sleep, if you just talk about sleep, what really helped us when my children were growing up was to stick to the bedtime and to have a little kind of ritual before your bedtime, because children are so wound up because we're so busy all the time, and they are consequently also busy, right? They run on that energy. They need time to wind down, right? You can see sometimes children stay up late until 11 or 12, and there is no like a fixed time to go to sleep. And I think, moms, all moms will agree on that, that children thrive on a routine. Whatever that routine is, children thrive. And when I have my clients, because clients, when they come to me for promises later, oh, you're going to tell me to go to bed early. It's not really even about going to bed early. It's just going to bed at the same time most of the time, at least during the weekday, right? To have that time that is, this is the time, whatever it is that we're doing, we're going to go and have a shower, get in our pajamas, read a book, and go to sleep. Whatever it is that we're doing. And it's easier with young children to do that. When they start having the after school activities and all the kind of stuff, then that's when it gets complicated. But then again, it all boils down to what's the most important thing for you, right? What matters to you the most? Can we do a couple of nights without after school activities? so that we can wind down and then go to sleep a little bit earlier. And when our children are growing up, we have so much power over the schedule. Right? So if our schedule is driving us crazy, well, we have power also to change that. It's all in our hands, right? So having that bedtime routine, I think, is really really important. And this comes from someone who is very structured, very organized, who likes to have like a one thing after the other. But just give yourself time that is unstructured, you know, and do not worry too much of, "Oh, we're not doing nothing." We're doing nothing, right? Because doing nothing actually has become a challenge to our generation, right? We just cannot.
I love that so much. And I think we're afraid of the word bored, but I think bored is important for kids because they need to figure out for themselves
Uh-huh.
how to use their imagination, how to figure out things to do that isn't just like, let me go pick up my technology, but like, what can I do to create something?
Exactly, right. Even if just they're lying outside on the grass, but looking at the clouds, and you can do that with your children. Just look at the clouds and let their minds wander, because that's what activates creativity in the end, right? We cannot be creative when we are deep in thought,
Mm.
right? Creativity doesn't come from thinking hard. Creativity comes from really disconnecting from thought and allowing that spacey sensation to come up. And when we are in that kind of dreamy stage, is that creativity is ignited. And it doesn't mean that in that moment you are going to come up with the best or greatest idea, but as you move through your day, since will start to come up, that because you have created that space inside you for that creativity to find its way, right? When we are cluttered with thought and doing and achieving and getting things done, we are closing that gap into creativity, right? That path into creativity is closed. It's impossible for creativity to come up, right? And we want our children to be creative, let children how to write things and draw things, but the more they are in thought and the harder they're trying, the harder it is to do that, right? So by allowing them to have just downtime, time that is unstructured, and I like what you said, that they will find a way to entertain themselves. Even if it's just looking at the clouds, or just being in no thought, right?
Yeah.
Being in no thought is such a privilege, such a luxury these days, because our heads are so cluttered with thought and things to do, right? So allowing time that is unstructured, right? And definitely leaning into having a routine, a bedtime routine, and a time to go to bed. I think that's how children really thrive, and it's good for them because they need to sleep. They need to
Yes.
sleep. I was surprised when I came here to live in the States back in 2001. We came to live in the States. I was surprised how early children are at the bus stop.
It's
Like,
early. Yes.
I was like, when do these children sleep? I was like, very, very. And then when it was time for my children to go to school too, I was like, wow. Like all through high school, I suffered because my children had to get up so early to go to school, and then come back from school, and then do the after school stuff, and then homework. And then I was like, oh my God, it's a lot. We ask a lot from our children. And it has to do a lot with what you said. There was mention about this masculine and feminine energy. Somehow there is no space for this feminine energy. There is no space for kids to just to chill down, just watch a movie, and or whatever. I remember when I was a child, I would do my homework, and then I had like an hour just to watch TV or something, and then we had dinner and stuff like that. But sometimes children don't even have time for that. And it's a little bit sad, right? Because
Well,
well,
speaking of children, we're going to have our tell you a little bit about our Tanzania project that we're working on through this Mama Genius Festival, and then we'll be back, Catalina, to tell us,
Mhm.
answer our last 5 questions of the podcast. I can't wait. So here's our little learn a little bit more about how we're trying to go to Tanzania to help the voices over
Have
there.
you ever been afraid to raise your hand in class or apply for the school play? I know I have, but not since I've joined the Speak Feed Lead project. The Speak Feed Lead project is now going to Tanzania to help the youth there get their voice heard. We need your help to give a donation. Any donation counts. If it's $5 or $100, any donation will help us be able to inspire the youth and change their lives and give them the power they need to speak from their hearts and give them their voice.
As we ask for a donation for this project, we also want to pass that voice and message along to you, as well as bringing more connection to your family. And so we want to provide a guide for you to bring meaningful connections between you and your kids, what we call a morning circle. And it inspires you to go through and really conversate with your kids in a 5 to 10 minute fashion that really starts to bring deep conversations. We provide the directions for how to do it, along with the cards you can print yourself and create the deep questions such as, what does it mean to be yourself? And you'll be surprised as you go around doing this process, how it starts to just naturally start to open up more and more conversations, even throughout the day. So we want to bring the voice to everyone. All we request is for a donation to our Tanzania project, and we will send you the details to how to make your own circles and get your own cards as well. So please click the link below and make the donation that you feel comfortable with, and we will send these materials to you. Well, welcome back.
Ah, that was nice. That was very
Well,
nice.
thank you. Yeah, and we've been, I have to really recommend the handouts for the morning circles. I've been doing those with my girls every day, and it just creates such conversations between us. And even today, we didn't get a chance to actually formally sit down, but we still, like, as they're getting ready, like, what's your intention for the day? Answer your card. And they actually was, how do you be more like yourself? And was a question for today for us. And to hear them just already so sure of themselves, and my 7-year-old already saying, well, it's like, if I like steak and my friend doesn't like steak, doesn't mean I shouldn't like steak. And just hearing their responses and getting that out is so amazing. And I think exactly what we're talking about with the sleep and the
Mhm.
rest and the thought process is, we're not hurrying out the door. We're even as we're getting ready, we're still having these conversations as
Yes.
fit.
Yes, and you know you're saying like it's 5 minutes, but it's like a little mini check. It's a little kind of little mini rest, just to settle down for a little bit and set an intention, right? How you want to be today, right? No,
It
that is
really is.
like a great example of how you can also even at the beginning of your day kind of start something like that. Now that my children are older, of course I have time to ground myself in the morning, do my breath work, I do my meditation. That's how I start every day. But I know that when you have young children, that is like
Incorporate them though. Incorporate them into your morning routine as well. So on that note, though, we're going to jump into our questions before we run out of time. So your first question is, what podcast or tool has helped you manage your busy life as a mom and a business owner?
Mhm. But I had two favorite ones. And the first one is the Daring to Read podcast from Karen Brody. She's the author of Daring to Rest, and she's also my mentor and coach. So I don't know. You want me to put the link in the
You can do it in a little bit. Yeah, we'll do that afterwards. But yeah,
and the other one that I've been this is a new one to me, but it has also helped me a lot is Plenty with Kate Northrup. She's the author of Do Less. So the book says it all, I guess. Do Less. It's a very, very good book. She's the mother of two little children as well, so she knows a lot about incorporating resting
I
when
love
you
that.
are raising little ones. Hmm. Yes.
And then I know your kids are a little bit older, but what even as your kids are older, what are some of the fun family activities that you still do that brings everyone together and keeps
Mhm.
you guys
Mhm.
what's one of your favorite activities you do with your kids still, even though they're older?
Yes, even older. Well, with my daughter, we'd like to plan the meals sometimes during the week. Now that she's older, and she just finished. She just graduated college last week. but she's going to still with us for a while. So we like just to, plan meals and decide when maybe one day of the week she cooks, or maybe 2 days of the week she cooks, which is nice. Hopefully on the day that is the busiest for me. Sometimes it works like that magically. So we like to do that together. With my son, he moved out of the house back in August, living with his girlfriend now. So now I just look forward to seeing him when he just comes, for dinner or to celebrate something, like he was with us last week for my daughter's graduation. So it is now, it's a different dynamic now that he's
But
not.
I love that idea of planning. And I think even, I mean, we do that with our family too. So even if we don't like necessarily like my son loves to cook too, but like on Sundays we make a perfect, like they were gone for the weekend and I was home, but I still called
Mhm.
them. I'm like, what meals do you guys want this week? I'm going to the grocery store. Let's make sure that we know what's going on, and we have that. And so we have a daily schedule up and stuff. So I think those, again, like you said, the routines and the kids knowing what's happening is such a great idea to help keep things moving forward.
Yeah,
And so
and
number,
even,
oh, go
uh-huh,
ahead.
yeah, I think they feel like proud when they're supporting like in that way, like they're helping doing
They
something,
do.
right? And then it's also the importance of eating, because when we are doing a lot, the first things to go is the meals, right? We just, okay, whatever, take out or whatever. But if you plan in advance at least 2 or 3 meals, you know that you'll be eating something healthy and good for everybody.
And
And
I think our next question might have been like designed just for you, but it's something that's been on my head of like, how do we get that busy concept out of our minds? Because a lot of times when you go to another person, like, how is your day going? Oh, I'm so busy, I'm doing blah blah blah. And so how do we rework the wording, because you're so good with the wording, into either how we ask a question differently or how we can respond differently, however you want to take that.
uh, well, first, I think the first thing is that is to become a little aware of what we're saying, right? Because we say a lot of things that I was not aware of, a lot of things that I was saying that were like, they were like expressing that life of stress, that life of rushing, that life of scarcity, right? Not enough time, or even not enough money, not enough time.
Yeah.
And actually Kate also says that the way you do money is the way you do life, right? So, or always worrying about, over worrying about, money and time, right? Because money, time, and energy, those are the three things that can overpower us, or we can just take charge and let not them overpower us, right? Time, money, and energy, those are the things that are needed and necessary. And start realizing how you talk about these things, right? Or how you
Yeah.
talk about time, or how you talk about money, right? Are you the kind of person that's always saying we need to make more money, or need more money, or there's not enough money, or or that kind of language that is the language of scarcity, right? And most of this, the rush and the fast pace in which we live these days is towards that, right? To having more time, to having more money, to having more energy, and in the end, we end up with any of them in our rush to have them so hard, right? To pursue them so hard, we end up not having them,
Yes.
right? And it's
True.
because we, as and it's, I think, a part of my journey with rest and sleep is that the realization that I don't have to pursue it. I already have all the time, and I already have all the money, and I already have all the energy I need for today, right? And just focus on what is today, what you need today, and and really feel into your body that what you need for today is already here. You already have
True.
it, right?
Well, that kind of leads us into number five, which is number four, sorry, is what does being successful mean to you, and how do you celebrate your successes in your
I love that.
business or mom?
I love that question. I make some notes on that too. uh, well, to me, after going through that big time in my life in which I was like just really working very hard, very hard, to the point of getting sick, now being in my body and feeling happy and comfortable in my body is the greatest thing I can feel. And being connected to the people I love. That's, I think, the people I love are my friends. Feeling that human connection and feeling happy in my body. That to me is like today was a good day, and today is, my life is good. Feels really good when I feel that. And a few things that I do to reward myself. I like to have a hot bath.
Mm.
And when my children were young, very young, we used to hop all in the the hot and a hot bathtub, and have a bath and play and do and things like that. And then I stopped doing for the longest time, and now I've gotten back into the routine of doing it, and it's such a magnificent thing to do that.
I might have to try that today. I was in the bathtub yesterday, so I might have to
In
try
the
that.
bathtub, put your oil, your salts, whatever you put there, go there and just under the water. It
Just,
feels so delicious,
I
and
love that.
that's very relaxing and good for your body. And the other thing that I really like to do is also take a nap. And nap sometimes they're a luxury, but now and then I like to take a nap, especially on the weekends,
We need to bring back siesta.
siesta time. And then I like to bake. So to me, it's
Mm.
like, oh, I'm going to reward myself and just make 2 hours and just going to take my time and bake something delicious.
Well, that leads us into our last question is how do you help your kids find what they're great at and living in their genius?
Mhm. When my children were growing up and I started to work, I was in kindergarten when I started to work part time, and then 2 years later I was working full time. There was something always at the back of my mind. I was and I guess that happens to all moms that work. I was like, I'm missing stuff. You know, I'm not there because then my husband started also helping, picking them up and dropping them and taking them to places or play dates and stuff like that. So for the longest time, I had this feeling that I was like missing things. I had having this kind of sadness that I was doing something that I loved, but that I was missing something at the same time. But once I started moving into having more rest and more sleep in my life, one of the things that has taught me is that it's not true. I was not missing anything, and I'm not missing even now anything. Still pursuing what I'm doing, because while I'm doing this, they are seeing me. They have seen me try this, oh, didn't work. Try that, oh, didn't work. But then I tried that, oh, that worked. That made me happy, and I'm doing this. And then sometimes I go into projects and they work really well. Sometimes go into projects and they don't work that well. And they see me doing this all the time. And I think there is no greatest lesson in resilience and trial error and in believing in what you
I
want,
love that.
right? Believing
Exactly.
in yourself. I
Well,
think
make
that.
sure you tell everyone how they can get a hold of you.
Mhm. I have my link to my Instagram place where I post a lot of stuff on rest and sleep. And I also have my link to my gift as a handout, Raising Kids on Rest. And that handout has all kind of just very short, very, very easy to do practical tips that you can do with your children. So I think
I'm going to ask you to put all the links in the chat for the podcast, for your gifts and everything, so everyone can find it in the Connecting Mamas Facebook group.
I will.
All your links, you can do it when we get off. Get them all in the chat. And then give your final takeaway for today. What's your final takeaway for everyone?
My takeaway?
Yeah, your final comment for everyone.
My final comment. My final comment is that moms, as I said, you are the sun and the moon. So keep reconnecting to yourself, keep grounding yourself. And by all means, stay true to yourself and to your dreams, because, as I said, our children are watching us. And there is no better lesson, I think, that we can give to our children than the gift of being true to yourself and what you love to do. So don't feel guilty. I felt guilty for a while. I don't feel guilty anymore because as I look back, it was okay and it was good, you know. And there's never going to be anything that is perfect, but we're not aiming at perfect. We are aiming at human, right? Because we are raising human beings after all.
Aiming at humans. I want to thank you so much for coming on today. And I'm going to just put you backstage for a minute while I go over the takeaways I discovered from today. And so normally I just do this later on, but I was taking notes through Catalina's talk. And so the first takeaway I have is her really talking about, number one is self-love, to bring back forth. And again, as she was just talking about being that humanness inside of you, rather than being the doer, but being the human being and taking that rest. And again, number two, just like she was saying, the sun and the moon, that metaphor is just such a great idea with the stars circling around you, the little kids, and that we are that model for them. And to remember that they're circling around us. And takeaway number three is time expands to meet my needs. Repeat that. Time expands to meet my needs. Use that mantra. Use it in your wording. And then number four, of course, comes to sleep is a way to rest, a way to heal, supporting the physical and mental abilities that you have. And to not be afraid of that void that comes when you get a good night's rest, to live in that, because that leads us into number five, is that downtime, that void, that space creates that creativity in us. It gives us that space to allow it to come forth instead of always being where we get to remove some of our thoughts and let the new ones percolate inside of us. So I'm so grateful that Catalina came on today and gave us all those great takeaways for the day. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you for joining us in today's episode of the Mama Genius Hub podcast. If you found value in our conversation, please share this episode with another mama who might benefit. Sharing helps us build a supportive community and reach out to more mamas like you. After all, it's more fun when we do motherhood together. Until next time, stay motivated and continue to pursue your dreams as you shine in your genius.